Hello, hello, hello! I am Kasasagi Usagi, and I am here with more Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. I believe we have the second part of our court case, so we're gonna hop right to it. Hey, Nick! What is it this time? You won't believe how many people are here for the trial. Well, it is a murder case. What are you talking about? They're here for the trial next door. Next door? Why don't you know this, Nick? They're having Detective Atme's trial today. Detective Atme? They say they're going to try him as masked demasked. Already? That was fast. Boy, I'd love to see that masked masks trial. I know. By the way, where's Pearls? Oh, she went back home. She said she can't neglect her training anymore. I know you don't like me. Pearls has really gotten into her training lately, huh? Yeah, ever since that incident last year. Please don't ignore me. Oh, Mr. Delight. Good morning. No one likes me. No one would notice me, even if I killed someone. Come on, don't be silly. Wait a sec. You don't mean you're the murderer? No! I'm just a poor thief. No, wait, that's not right. A thief can't really be poor. Now, let's see. According to Mr. Delight, from his second crime on, he was following a bunch of set plans. Plans that someone had been sending to help him commit the heists. Do you really think there's a connection between the thief and the murder, Nick? It's possible. But today's trial is a race against the clock. Huh? How come? Let's just take our time like always. I'm afraid that's not an option. We have to get done before Luke Atme's trial gets done. I believe it's the problem. Although, I guess Phoenix wouldn't know that. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Ron Delight. The defense is ready, Your Honor. You're ready? Preparation is the last refuge for the weak. Okay, settle down, everyone. Let's begin your opening statement. Mr. Godot. He's got the judge in the palm of his hand, yet again. Ron Delight is simply too young to be sent to war. That's all. I'm afraid I have no idea what that means, Mr. Godot. Ha! Then you need to get out more, Your Honor. Life is war. That is exactly why you must be more precise in your wording. That's all my statement means. You understand now, right? Yes. Well, then let me briefly summarize the details of this case. Wow. The judge is taking charge like he knows what's going on for a change. The victim is Kane Bullard, CEO of KB Security. His body was found in his safe at approximately 9 a.m. on the morning of the 13th. However, the time of death was estimated as 1 a.m. of the previous day. And that's when our lost little kitten dropped the ball. That little lost kitten is, of course, the defendant. Very well then. Mr. Godot, please call your first witness. I never drink more than 17 cups of coffee during any given trial. But the first one is always the best. Mr. Godot, your witness. Okay then, let's hear what the defendant, Mr. Ron Delight, has to say for himself. The defendant? Well, Mr. Wright, does the defense have any objections? It may be a bit of a disadvantage having the defendant testify, but... I remember when Mia was defending me. She allowed me to testify so she could do the cross-examination. She put a lot of trust in me back then. And you bumbled it, Phoenix. We have no objections, Your Honor. The defense will allow Mr. Delight to testify. Ha! You've got guts, trite. Alright then. Mr. Ron Delight, please take the stand. You did it, didn't you? Yes. What? No. That's not true. For a moment there, I thought we'd set the record for the shortest trial ever. Well, Mr. Delight already looks plenty guilty with the face he's making. And once he opens his big mouth, he'll probably put the last nail in his own coffin. Very well. Now then, can you tell me something? If you didn't kill Bullard, why did you go to KB Security? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Boy, I wish I could go home. Now then, let's hear some testimony about what happened. That evening around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security. The blackmail letter I got had ordered me to go there. I'd been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was. "1 a.m. The exact time the murder took place. The weak get washed away by the tides of fate. The strong drink it up. It's bitter today, too. Just like my destiny. You'd never know from the way he's chugging it down. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please." That evening, around 1 a.m., I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security. 1 a.m., huh? You're absolutely sure about that? Yep, that's what my watch said when I was entering the CEO's office. No. Actually, I'm not really sure. My watch was slow, and my internal clock was also a bit... 1 a.m., that's the exact time the victim was murdered, correct? It's too late for a coffee date, that's for sure. The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. It ordered you there? It was the first time I'd gotten a blackmail letter that ordered me to go somewhere. Does that mean you've gotten other blackmail letters then? Oh, of course. They'd say things like, steal this or take that. Oh, why don't you save those for later, Mr. Delight? Please don't say anymore. Now, what should I do? So what did the blackmail letter in question say? It said to bring $50,000. Money, eh? A perfect motive for committing murder. Oh, but wait! I never intended to pay that money anyway. Oh, is that right? After all, he had nothing to hold over my head. I had nothing to be afraid of. An important point indeed. Witness, let's have that added to your testimony. Yes, sir. Huh. A muddy mud skipper in outer space has a better chance of surviving than I do. The blackmail threat didn't scare me. It wasn't going to cause me trouble or anything. Just what were you being blackmailed about anyway? The blackmail letter said, if you don't want your identity revealed, correct? I'm sure it was referring to the whole mask-to-mask thing. But I wasn't worried. Mr. Bullard didn't have anything on me. And blessings be upon you, Sprightly. He didn't? Anyway, I don't care what anyone says about me. Just as long as Desi believes in me. So that was why Miss Delight didn't believe he was mask to mask. That's why I knew they were just hollow threats. I'd been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was. You used to be a KB Security chief for KB Security, right? Yes, that's right. A security chief, you? And yet, a year ago you were fired without notice. Revenge for an old grudge, a perfect motive for murder, wouldn't you say? This isn't good. Maybe I should change the subject. Mr. Delight, please tell us why you were fired from your job. Well, the world is filled with those who have said, I wish I had never asked that. Okay, then I take it back. Defendant, please answer the question. Well, I needed money. You needed money? Well, you see, Desi loves to spend it. It's kind of her hobby. Not exactly the best hobby in the world, huh, Nick? My salary wasn't nearly enough, so I stole data from the company. Come again? KB Security has a lot of security info on all sorts of companies. And since I was security team chief, you stole some data and sold it. Mr. Bullard found out, and I was fired immediately. What? I wish I had never asked that. I was somehow able to keep it secret, and made it seem like I had quit on my own. What is it, Nick? You don't look so good. Someone who brings harm to their company is fired as punishment. You do well to remember that. He sure told you. So admit that you stole data from your company, is that correct? Yes, I'm sorry. This is a very important fact. Please add it to your testimony. Oh man, this whole thing took a big turn for the worse. Crashed and blew up. It's gonna take the jaws of life to rip this case from the clutches of disaster. He fired me for selling company secrets, but Desi doesn't know about that. Why would you do something like that? Well, for Desi's hobby, what else? Wasting money, huh? It's not a waste! So Miss Delight doesn't know that her husband was fired, does she? So it would seem. I'm not sure what to think about couples who keep secrets like that from each other. I can't believe it. This case has gotten even Maya to think seriously about couples. Please try to stay focused, Mr. Wright. There wasn't much to his testimony, was there? Sounds like he's avoiding something. At least that's what it sounds like to me. Uh-oh. I've got a bad feeling about this. We better be careful. But if we don't find a way to make him spill the beans, we'll never get closer to the truth. Yeah. It's one of these news statements. Oh shit, I don't want to go the other way. This statement I don't get. He is hiding it. Because if he didn't care about the blackmail... He says he didn't care because that man had nothing on him. But then why go and do the blackmail thing anyway if you weren't a little bit afraid? It feels like a bit of a stretch, but I'm gonna throw her profile because if he didn't go there to... He's definitely scared of his wife finding out. Which is why he went. Ugh. Hold on. Oops. Well, the silence is always good. Mr. Delight, what you said just now doesn't match what you told me yesterday. Huh? What is it? I think you must have been scared. Very scared. Of having a certain person find out your secret. Yeah. I was worried I was jumping the gun. A certain person? Miss Desiree Delight, the defendant's wife. But listen to me, my Desi, she's... Looks like if I just sit back and relax, the fun will end before it truly begins. Godot. Yes, we know. It was all your wife's fault. What do you mean? Mr. Delight stole company data to pay for his wife's spending habit, for which he was fired. Unable to face his own wife, someone used his dirty little secret to blackmail him. And that is how this murder came about. Oh. No, everything is falling neatly into place for him. Don't talk about my Desi like that. Or you'll be sorry. Well, it seems that we've learned a great deal of things here so far. What do you think, Nick? I don't think it was possible to get so thoroughly whipped in just 20 minutes. Clearly there was sufficient motive for murder. He stole data for his wife and he killed to protect his secret. A family man who cared just a little too much. The motive is clear. Let's move on. What happened at the crime scene at 1 a.m. At 1 in the morning, Delight? Come now, tell us. We're all ears. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. When I came to, Mr. Bullard was lying there dead. I see. Suddenly hit on the forehead, huh? I believe the detective from yesterday provided similar testimony. He said that Master Mass struck him on the head from behind. Of course, since Atme turned out to be the culprit himself, that was all a lie. Ha! No one's going to believe a pathetic lie like that. What are you saying? I really was attacked. We'll find out if what you say is true or not during the cross-examination. Got that, Mr. Trite? Don't go easy just because he's your client. If I see any sign that you are, I'll treat you to another cup of my special blend. You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Godot. I have faith in Ron. I know he didn't do it. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. Who was the suspicious shadow? If there was 1,000 of me, and even if one knew, I'd tell you, trust me. Dodging all of our questions is not helping us win the case. Okay then, how was the victim Mr. Bullard at that time? What do you mean, how was he? Was he already dead? Was he still alive? Maybe he was the one who hit you in the first place. That's a good question. What do you think, Mr. Wright? Ugh, forget it. Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed. Your forehead? Yes, I was hit on the forehead as soon as I entered the room. It was an amazingly fast and powerful attack. Do you remember anything about who hit you? Well, like I said, it was fast and powerful hit, so I think I was a little dazed for a while. I don't think Mr. Light even grasped what you were asking. Yeah, I'd like to show him a fast and powerful attack myself. Maybe that would knock some sense back into him. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. That? Could you please clarify what you were referring to? Why, my Master Mask costume, of course. Wait just a moment. Master Mask? Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as Master Mask. And then I descended upon the office of the CEO of KB Security. What? Nick, did you know about this? He never told me this. I don't recall him ever mentioning it to me either. Even I didn't know that. It seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets. I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up till now. Wait, that's not right. You know how sometimes things just slip your mind? Huh, my 6th cup of coffee is staring up at me coldly. At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please correct your testimony. I'd have been killed if I hadn't been wearing my mask-to-mask costume. Why were you dressed up as mask-to-mask? Why, because I'm mask-to-mask, of course. What are you talking about? Mask-to-mask trials being held next door. Oh, yes, I guess so. Anyway, at the time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the mask-to-mask issue. So I thought I could go as him, just to be safe. Why? Why? If you're being blackmailed because someone's like, oh, I know your secret, you're mask-to-mask, and then you show up as mask-to-mask, I don't see how that helps anything. Oh boy. Let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why it took a lot longer than I expected. Took a lot longer? What is he talking about? Oh god. What do you mean took a lot longer? Oh, opening the safe, of course. The cape got caught in the safe door, you see. This all happened when I was hiding Mr. Bullet's body. What was that? Back up a second. Yes. You were the one that hid the body in the safe? Oh, well, yeah. Inconceivable. Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking? Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts? His jazz just coming in there is really taking me out. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine? What? The answer is simple. When they take them off. As usual, I have no idea what you're saying. Do you mean that Mr. Delight hid the body because he's the murderer? Huh. So you're not as stupid as you look. His metaphor this time was really obscure. Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you? Well, yes. Oh yeah, I remember. I remember that game. Stop drinking the bleach, baby. Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Witness, make sure you add this to the testimony. Yes, sir. Uh-oh. Looks like a storm front is moving in over the fair weather judge. I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes. We heard this from Delight yesterday, didn't we? There's not much in this testimony either. I bet you he's still hiding something. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll just have to draw it out of him. I just hope he doesn't make things any more complicated. I forgot to listen to that last one. Why did you hide the body in the safe anyway? Well, because it wouldn't fit in a drawer. That's not exactly what I meant. When I saw that corpse, I kind of lost it. I thought, if they find his corpse, they'll think I did it. Huh. I think you had a simpler reason than that. It's because you killed him. That's why you spent 10 minutes hiding the body. That certainly makes more sense. Ugh. Hold on. 10 minutes? What is it, Nick? I just had a thought. Under those circumstances, would you normally try to hide the body? And spend 10 whole minutes to do it? Under those circumstances? What circumstances? Oh! Hey Nick! If you think his behavior was so strange, why don't you present some evidence that would show just what those circumstances were? That's it. I'll take a look at the court record and present some evidence. We heard this from Mr. Delight. Okay. I think I know. It's, 'cause didn't the alarm go off? Oh. Yeah, the buzzer went off at 1:02 a.m. So taking 10 minutes would have been a long... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Wait, really? Did I not present the right thing? I'm shocked. They did and this has the exact time on it, so I thought it would do. Maybe just the buzzer then? Wow, alright. Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? Why did I get penalized for the record when that's what we're presenting? Alright. And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office is pressed, the security team is supposed to come running. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once at 1:02 a.m. What? If Mr. Rondelite truly was the murderer, would he have ran as soon as that... He would have ran as soon as that buzzer sounded. After all, a security guard would have been heading his way. Objection. Do you think so? I could have sworn I clicked the record. Let's remember who we're dealing with here. He probably had no idea there was a security personnel in the building. Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as a chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about this. But as it turns out, the guard never came. That was nothing more than a coincidence. The fact that the guard was a pathetic loser, who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend, and wasn't anywhere in the vicinity, was not something Mr. Delight could have known. Again, remember who we're dealing with here. It's a sure bet that Delight didn't even notice the buzzer was going off. This buzzer is extremely loud. There is no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is. Conscious? What do you mean by that? Ugh. Fine. Let's hear your theory. Recall the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. Delight said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes. Unconscious? So he fainted? That's why Mr. Delight didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body. So what are you trying to say? Mr. Delight was knocked out, and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it could only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right. Whoever it was, they knocked out Ron Delight and then pressed the buzzer. Order in the court. Mr. Wright, this is preposterous. If it was this kid, Rhonda Light is the one who killed Kane Bullard. Then who pressed the buzzer? It was the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have held on long enough to push the button. Ugh. So Kane Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright? I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene. But how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? Yeah, fingerprints, right? The defense's opinion is this, Your Honor. The piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. Oh, wait. Oh, there are no fingerprints on it. Oh, wait, then the buzzer was obviously pushed, but if Kane had done it, there would be fingerprints on it. Because there are no fingerprints on it, it's somebody who was wearing gloves or some shit. I don't know. I believe this is the piece of incontrovertible evidence you were looking for. The emergency buzzer. Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not. Hey, come on now. At least give some thought to what you say before opening your mouth. The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue. Now I'm the one who's clueless. This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullard had really pressed it himself, naturally he would have left his fingerprints behind. Rhonda Light obviously wiped them off. Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment. He touched that button, I know he did. The defendant, Mr. Delight, was dressed as Master Mask. And Master Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have to wipe the button free of fingerprints? Order, order, order. Ha, it would seem I've been forced to eat crow. I wonder what blood number crow-flavored coffee is. However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer? Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger? What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? Huh. Looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks. They're on to you, Nick. Just give me a moment to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed Mr. Bullard at around 1 a.m. And Mr. Delight just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place. No, absolutely nobody has mentioned him. They just don't talk about it. The killer clobbered Delight and then sounded the buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away if the buzzer was pressed. Security was supposed to respond. Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say. Very well, then. Oh, you've got some guts. I like that in an opponent. Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer? It's to call a security guard. This is very obvious. The real killer was there. Somebody else walked in. They knocked them out. And then they would call the security guard to frame that other person for the murders. The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted. Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose? Yes. Although, as it turned out, they never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time. Ha, what a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in? No, I'm not. When that buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim, Kane Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Rhonda Light, who was found out cold. And the 3rd person, the real killer. Hypothetically, yes. Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only clues left in the room would be the victim and Rhonda Light. And if any security guards came running in at that time, they would think that I was the murderer. Yes, that was precisely the real killer's objective. To frame Rhonda Light for the murder. Order, order, order. Ha, it would seem I've been made to eat my words once again. Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I'm the one and only Master Mask, so... Nick, you mean the real killer is... We're gonna drag that person in here right now. But who is it? I don't have any solid proof yet, but think about it. The killer knew Mr. Delight's identity, and they also knew that he had been called to KCB security that night. So the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Bullard. Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Rhonda Light for the murder of Kane Bullard? Now, I wouldn't know this if we hadn't been constantly flashing his silhouette. But it is this man. I know! This is the only reason why I know this. Detective Luke Atme. He's the only one who could have done it. Ace Detective Luke Atme? You mean Master Mask did it? Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next to us is not Master Mask at all. He is in actuality the true murderer of Kane Bullard. Order, order. Mr. Wright, explain yourself. Theft and murder, which is the more serious crime? They're not even close. Murder is the more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime, subject to capital punishment. Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Luke Atme confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom. Of course, a famous detective was unmasked as well as Master Mask. Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along. To be found guilty? Master Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Master Mask was Luke Atme's airtight, watertight, and unassailable alibi. A guilty verdict as an alibi! You know, it's almost time. For what? For Luke Atme's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial, after all. If we're going to stop this trial and stall that one, we need to do it now. Of course, that's assuming you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder. Mr. Luke Atme's trial has indeed attracted the attention of the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mr. Delight would be left with no grounds for appeal. Am I really sure about this? Ha. A bet's only good when your life's the ante. Mr. Wright, I believe in you. Mr. Delight. So please. I'm begging you. Thanks, but my decision will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this? Phoenix. What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust. That voice. It sounds like... Mia. Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess. Huh. So that's your answer, huh? Very well. I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Lugatme to the stand. Yes, Your Honor. Well, Sir Detective Atme. I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly. Oh no, Sir Detective Atme, you were the one who... That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant, Luke Atme. Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please. Well, well, Sir Lawyer, welcome to my courtroom. Who's this hoser, eh? My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law, and I wish to file an accusation against this man, Luke Atme. Accusation? You accuse Master Mask? That man is not Master Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer. What? Who's this hoser, eh? Oh my goodness. This case has gone on forever. And I'm deeply concerned about how long the others are going to be. I need to charge my headset very quickly. So I need 1 moment. Yeah, if this second trial is this long, I'm like, Jesus. The last trial's gonna go on forever. Those are always so long. 1,000 parts. Yeah. Look at me. My sis? I could have sworn I heard Mia's voice. So then she's still alive? Inside your heart? Nicky boy? Oh, Miss Delight. Is it true the detective... is it true that detective is the real killer? To be honest, we don't have any definite proof. But he's the only one who could have done it. But wasn't he at Lordly Taylor that night? Not to mention, we don't exactly know his motive. I mean, why would Detective Atme want to kill Kane Bullard? Oops, it's almost time. Better get back to the courtroom. I need to find some solid proof, and it's gotta happen sooner rather than later. Yeah, I actually don't know how we're gonna prove this. Now that this court is back in session, Mr. Luke Atme, please take the stand. Well, how do you do, Sir Lawyer? I never would have thought to see you acting so recklessly. I couldn't let them hand down your verdict just yet. Not when it would have given you your perfect alibi. An alibi by the name of Master Mask. I'm sorry. I'm afraid even the great Luke Atme has no idea what you mean. Of course, I have been in the next courtroom ever since 10 o'clock this morning. I'm afraid there's no way I could know what's been going on in here. You've been in the defendant's seat all day long, correct? Being tried as Master Mask? Indeed, it's truly child's play to fool the ignorant masses. Not only did the poor fools ask me to protect their valuables, they even gave me a generous reward upon returning their own property to them. Take this red diamond ring that sparkles upon my divine finger, for example. So you continue to insist that you are, in fact, Master Mask? Of course! Very well then, Mugami. We'll just begin with this simple question. On October 12th at 1 a.m., Cain Bullard was murdered. Where were you at the time? One without knowledge lacks even the knowledge that he should be ashamed of himself. But don't worry, I will not hold it against you, said Judge. Thanks. Alright, Mr. Atme. The night of the murder. Speak. We're all ears. As you wish, Sir Prosecutor. I was stealing the urn as Master Mask, just as I announced I would. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. A photograph contains no words, but in this case one turned out to be my witness. At the time at which the camera captured Master Mask was the same time as the murder. It seems the main point of discussion will be this photo of the crime scene. Everything else up until now was all part of his plan. There has to be a secret in this picture as well. Even the great Master Mask cannot be in two places at once. Now then, if you'll excuse me, I have a verdict to receive. Unfortunately, Mr. Atme, we still have to do your cross-examination. A fool is too foolish to know that he is a fool. I think he's trying to say that you're full of it, Nick. The only thing that's full of it is his alibi. I was stealing the urn as Master Mask, just as I announced I would. So this photograph is the proof, correct? Indeed it is. And the man in the photo is certainly wearing a mask. That is why I am called Mask de Mask. But conveniently, that also means there is no way to tell who this really is. What do you mean?
Objection!
Ha! Are you saying that this is not, in fact, Luke Atme? That it could be an accomplice dressed up as Master Mask to create an alibi? Oh, what an interesting idea. Are you saying that I, Lone Wolf Luke, had an accomplice? No, probably not. If Luke Atme was at KB security during the murder, then the Master Mask in this picture has to be a fake. Then there really was an accomplice. But right now, I have no idea who it was. I don't have any idea right now either. Baseless objections are just what this guy wants. There's got to be another way, and I'm going to find it. I had more than enough time to prepare. It was a pathetically easy job. I believe Adrian Andrews hired you at one point? That's right. That was over 20 days ago, if I'm not mistaken. You sent the calling card to Lordly Taylor 10 days before the heist? That would mean you sent out the card after you began your security watch, right? Indeed. There was no reason why I couldn't do both jobs at once. It was the perfect opportunity to steal my latest target. I see. You truly are evil, aren't you? Yes. Evil is what I am. Hey, Nick. Isn't there something odd about this? Detective Atme was always proud of his ace detective skills, right? But if the urn was stolen from Lordly Taylor while he was the only one watching it, he'd have no way to maintain his perfect ace detective persona. You know, that's true. It is kind of odd. A photograph contains no words, but in this case, one turned out to be my witness. So by photograph, you mean this piece of evidence here? Is that correct? Indeed it is. That it is. The very thing that proves I committed the crime. The very thing that proves you committed the crime. When you think about it, it really is odd. You say that almost as if you had this picture taken on purpose.
Objection!
He was simply caught by the very camera that he had set up. We all have days like that. Indeed, it turned out that there was no such thing as the perfect crime after all. Life is truly an ironic thing, a sad blue melody. It looks like I'd better gather more information for now. If he's truly the killer, there's got to be something phony in that photo. The time at which the camera captured Mass to Mass was the same time as the murder. About the camera that took this photograph. Oh, come now, it's all too clear what you're thinking. You think I altered the timestamp on the photograph, don't you? I'm afraid that's impossible. The camera was set up by Lordly Taylor, and on top of that, it was Lordly Taylor's staff that printed the picture's data. Unfortunately for the defense, there's no way that picture could have been altered. I see. Looks like I'd better find something else that could be suspicious. So this alibi is false. It has to be, or I couldn't have killed Mr. Bullard at KB Security. But I'm not really spotting anything unusual. There are two possibilities. Either the mask to mask in the photo is a fake, or the photo itself is. I was stealing the inn as mask to mask, just as I announced I would. Oh, I read this already. I think now that I have more information, I still can't prove a fake. So by photograph, you mean this? Indeed. This is it. It's the very thing that proves I committed the crime. The very thing. Surely, Lordly Taylor provided the camera. That means I could not have killed Kane Bullard unless I had an accomplice. Come on. Think long and hard about that night. The basement warehouse. And the picture that supposedly captures it. It's got to be here. Isn't there something funny about this picture? Yes. Are you implying that this picture is a fake? You bet I am. There's definitely something strange about this picture. We took a look around that basement warehouse that night before the theft took place. And there's something in this photo that doesn't match the memory of that night. Very well then. Let's hear what you have to say. I want to say the ink on the box, but he could be holding it the other way. It's paint that got spilled. Ooh, don't do that.
Take that!
The funny part is right here. Why, this is a blood stain. All blood? Now this case is getting interesting. Not exactly. The stain is actually pink paint. Oh, just paint. And peach colored at that. From blood to peaches, the judge sure loves going on his wild tangents. The problem with this photograph is not the paint. The problem is when you consider the layout of the basement warehouse. It turns out that something that should be there is nowhere to be seen. Well, Mr. Wright? What is supposed to be in this picture, instead of the paint? Oh, it's her. The supervisor of the treasure exhibit stated the following. Well, there's a good reason for that. On the day of the crime, around noon, that golden statue just happened to arrive from the mountain training hall. I realized that the statue would be the perfect size for covering up the paint stains. That's why I put it where you first saw it. I myself was there that night. The theft took place and saw the statue in that spot. If that picture was truly taken on that night, then the statue should have been there.
Objection!
But when I went there the day after the theft, that statue of the old bag was sitting in the corner. Perhaps it was somehow pushed there accidentally? Your Honor, this statue is slightly larger than yourself and quite heavy. It would take more than an accidental push to move it in that distance. Ha! In that case, can you prove it? Can you give us the rhyme and reason as to why the statue was moved that night? Can you do it, Nick? Never mind who moved it. The real question is, why did they move it? Well, Mr. Wright, I hope you are prepared with your answer. Now then, who was the one that moved that golden statue on the night of the crime? Oh, are we serious? It's this man. The one who moved the statue is none other than Look at Me. Come now, Sir Lawyer. There you go again on one of your strange delusions. Mr. Wright, what basis do you have for your strange delusions? It's very simple. The witness was the only one in the basement warehouse that night. That is indeed very simple. However, why would I want to move a heavy golden statue? The reason for moving the golden statue. Here's where our battle really begins. Well, Mr. Wright, what reason did the witness have to move that statue? The reason can be found here in this photograph. Look at me. You pretended to be Master Mask to create an alibi by showing you were at Lordly Taylor that night. But this photograph contains a single fatal flaw. If the statue had been there, your lie would have been exposed like cheap film at a drugstore. That is why you had to move the statue. A single fatal flaw? Interesting theory. Please enlighten us. Just where in this picture does the lie exist? I'm barely following this line of logic. But I'm guessing this. I really genuinely have no idea what's going on. But I know there's something wrong with the timestamp. Or the timestamp? What's your idea, Sprightly? Oh, you think it got cut? You think when he pushed it, it got cut, pulled off? That would make sense if he never actually got into a scrap. Oh yeah, he did say he got into a fight, but he never actually got into a fight, so it doesn't make sense that the brooch ever fell off. Unless it got snagged on the statue. I'm gonna say this because I really don't understand what's happening. Whoa, Mr. Mouse. Naturally, the lie in this photo is the timestamp. What do you mean? I'll tell you, I don't understand how it's wrong or what's going on. But I know the timestamp has to be wrong for all this to fit together. And that's my logic. And it seems pretty solid. And I didn't get in trouble. I'll tell you exactly what I mean. On the night in question, Look at Me went to KB Security and murdered Kane Bullard. Therefore, it's obvious. It would have been impossible for him to have been at Lordly Taylor at this time. But what does that have to do with the statue being moved? Remember, if you will, Your Honor. When was the statue placed besides the warehouse door? Well, the statue was taken down to the warehouse on the day of the crime. And it was placed there in order to cover up the paint. Exactly. Look at Me had already decided on the time when he was going to kill the victim. And so in order to create an alibi for that time, he took this picture days before the murder took place. What the? Oh, I see. I understand. Of course, the statue hadn't been brought down yet to the basement warehouse yet. Oh. So on the day of the crime, Mr. Atme must have been quite nervous. As nervous as a long-tailed cat in a rocking chair factory, so to speak. Why? Because something that wasn't supposed to be there had been brought down and placed where it wasn't supposed to be. And that is why Luke Atme had to move the statue on the night of the murder. He did it to make the room match with the way it had been in this photo. Order. Mr. Atme, is this true? One moment, Your Honor. Have you forgotten this? What's that? The data for the basement warehouse computer. According to this, the camera did indeed go off on the night of the crime. It's true that the camera had been set up by the Lord Lee Taylor staff. However, the program used to manage that data was yours. That alone would have allowed you to tamper with the data. Aha! Okay, I'm starting to understand. Order. Mr. Godot, what is the meaning of this? Godot, I have warned you about making me wait. Now put down that coffee. My 11th cup. I've promised to drink no more than 17 during a trial, which means I'm still good to the last drop. However, the defense has a very good point. A good point? So what? We are all but travelers on a road of infinite points. I think he's got his points mixed up with his other points. So you say this photograph was taken ahead of time? And then the statue was moved in order to make it match? That's a very interesting idea. However, there's one point that can't be denied. Which is... that it's only a possibility. Men that are trapped by the chains of maybe can never reach their dreams. That's very true, I guess. No, wait, don't fall for that, Your Honor. Hey, Mr. Damask. Yes? If there's no funny business in your actions as Master Damask, there should be no problem with you telling us your strategy. So let's hear it. Yes, please provide this court with your testimony about your plan to steal the sacred urn. I first received the request from Lord Lee Taylor about 20 days ago. The urn was placed in a box in Zavar. It was then sent to the warehouse. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. I knew it was an extremely valuable treasure, so I sent my card 10 days beforehand. I then handled security by myself to ensure the crime would go smoothly. At last, I held the urn in my hands for the first time at 1 AM on October 12th. That's pretty much all the stuff we've heard before, isn't it? Yeah, but we will find the truth hidden in the nuggets of new information he gave. Witness, you're sure there are no mistakes this time? Zavari. Very well then. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. I guess I'm failing to understand why Luke Atme killed this man. Although I do remember in the blackmail letter that he talked about a red gem that he got. But he has that red gem. He's wearing it. So I don't know why Ron Delight had it. Unless Luke Atme gave Delight his blackmail letter? This is all very elaborate and confusing. I first received the request from... Oh, my new GeForce game driver is ready and available. I first received the request from... It just was big letters across my screen. I first received the request from Lord Lee Taylor about 20 days ago. I do love Godot's jazz music very much. It absolutely slays me. You were asked to guard the urn by Miss Adrian Andrews, is that right? Indeed, it seemed that they had heard of my sparkling reputation. I see Miss Andrews is still attracting the weirdos. You better watch out too, Maya. The urn was placed in a box in Zavar. It was then sent to the warehouse. You mean this box? Yes, that pathetic box. Lady Andrews was especially taken with that urn, and she wouldn't let anyone enter the storeroom, not even me. Huh, interesting new tidbit. Hence, I was actually unable to see the urn for myself until the day of the crime. So you're sure that you had never seen that urn before? Indeed, you may ask Lady Andrews to confirm for yourself. My security was focused entirely on the entrance to that warehouse. However, look at me, let no information whatsoever slip through my fingers. Wait a second. I remember something. We're coming to purloin to the most priceless work of art. On display is your treasure of crane exhibit. Take good care of the speckled urn, won't you? The urn is only recently speckled. He could not have seen the urn. A speckled urn. It only... yeah, the paint... That means he did steal it before anything else happened. I think I can just present this bad boy. Mr. Atme, if you really are Master Mask, then you also wrote this calling card, correct? But of course. Is there a problem with that calling card? Allow me to read a passage from the calling card that Master Mask had written. Take good care of the speckled urn. Now, the speckled here surely refers to this pink pattern on the sacred urn. Yes, this is true. So what? The truth be told, there is no way that Master Mask could have known about this pattern. What do you mean? This pink spotted pattern on the urn is actually nothing more than paint stains. Paint stains? And these stains do not appear until after the urn had been taken to Lordly Taylor. I'm not finding this joke to be very funny, Mr. Trite. The day that the sacred urn was taken to the warehouse, the urn was broken due to human error, or should I say error-prone human. That's when the pink paint got on the urn. You can't be serious. And yet this calling card clearly mentions the paint pattern. Which means Detective Atme had seen this urn long before the crime ever took place. In fact, he saw it when this fake photo was taken. And because this photo is a fake, your alibi for the night of the murder no longer holds water. Oh, are we done? Witness, do you have anything to say for yourself? Alright, that did it. He's broken. Nick. I don't know what penguin noises are. I have no idea what they sound like. I think it's still a little early for a victory pose. Huh? Huh. It's so sad. No one has any conviction these days. Conviction, you say? Yesterday, we all decided unanimously that this man was Master Mask. And now we're calling him a murderer. You don't think we're being a tad fickle? That's a good point. No way! Don't fall for that too, Your Honor. You say that Look At Me was the one who killed Kane Bullard. Nah, then let me ask you this. Why would he do that? And an excellent point! Motive, Mr. Wright. Motive. Might you, my merry murderer's motive manifest? Nick! He's getting his second wind. If you prepared an alibi and primed his crime on Rhonda Light, as you say, he must have had a very strong motive for murder. The only one with any motive we've seen is Rhonda Light. Isn't that right, Detective? Indeed! According to my own research, the boy's motive is clear. Without a motive, it's nearly impossible to prove guilt in a murder case. Now then, maybe you can enlighten us as to what the defendant's motives were. I'd be honored to, Sir Oldtimer. They're doing everything they can to make Ron look suspicious. Despite our lack of hard information, this may be our only chance. It's the blackmail note. I wish I could just explain this to these people. I, Look At Me, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook who he was. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Rhonda Light. And it was again Mr. Bullard who harbored a grudge against the Light for his betrayal. Mr. Bullard's mistake is quite excusable. The defendant truly believes he is Master Mask. That is why Mr. Delight saw it fit to kill Kane Bullard. Truly a tragedy. So the victim, Kane Bullard, blackmailed the defendant. This is the blackmail letter found in the defendant's apartment. A handwriting test confirms that Mr. Bullard was indeed the one who wrote the letter. What? Well, very well, Mr. Wright. Begin your cross-examination. I, Look At Me, had no points of contact with the victim whatsoever. And who in the world is going to prove that? I will. After doing a thorough background check of Detective Atme and Kane Bullard, we were unable to find any links between them. It's all in the report. Perhaps they were connected through their work. They were both involved in security. No. That was blunt. In any case, the only one with a motive was Mr. Delight. Kane Bullard decided to investigate Master Mask and simply mistook who he was. Mistook? That's right, mistook from the Old Norse mistaka, meaning to take an error. That wasn't what I meant. Just who did the victim mistake Master Mask to be? Why, the answer is obvious. Rhonda Light, of course. Boy, I'd like to wipe that smug look off this guy's face. Why would the victim mistake the defendant for Master Mask? Don't you already know that? Zvar, take a look at this newspaper. Oh-ho. Oh-ho, that's the famous Tear of Eminent, a magnificent jewel. That photo shows a magnificent detective as well, does it not? Furthermore, it also shows an ugly guard, namely the defendant. The defendant? The victim clearly misread this article, and Zavar! He got the wrong impression. The impression that this ugly security guard was in fact Master Mask. I see. That was an unusually reasonable deduction. It was Mr. Bullard who wrote the blackmail letter and sent it to Rhonda Light. I think this is where hold on. You mean the blackmail letter right here? It says bring $50,000, and the handwriting is without a doubt the victim's? There's no mistake. We have an official report to prove it. But I don't see an addressee on this letter anywhere. An addressee? This letter was discovered in Rhonda Light's apartment, and Mr. Delight did show up at the designated place and time. The fact that there is no addressee is irrelevant. I wonder. What's up, Nick? I just had a thought. What if that blackmail letter wasn't meant for Mr. Delight? Whoa, do you have any evidence of that? For some reason, I just can't shake the feeling that there's something not quite right about this blackmail letter. Well, everyone, are you quite satisfied? Yeah, it's right. Hold on. It talks about a red gem. I definitely remember that. Yep. Mind if I ask you a few questions, Detective Atme? Well, if it's just a few, I guess it's alright. When you said that this letter was addressed to Rhonda Light, I couldn't help but notice one major contradiction. Contradiction! I don't know where a walking contradiction like you gets off saying things like that. You're one to talk. At times like these, men are made to express themselves with their fists. Why don't you show us what you've got there, Junior? Indeed, time to man up, Mr. Wright. Show us the contradicting evidence in this content of the blackmail letter. It's right there. I wasn't Wait. Shoot. Don't I have a picture of... The contradicting evidence is the red diamond, but I don't have a way to prove anything about the red diamond. And I thought I had at least a picture of that fucking detective. Oh. Wait, no. Yeah. So in the blackmail letter that was sent to Rhonda Light, he says, if you don't, I'll take that. If you don't have $50,000, I'll take that red diamond you received the other day instead. Rhonda Light doesn't have a red diamond, but Atme was given the red diamond, which he is wearing on his hand right now, for solving the case. He is talking, so that's how we know that this blackmail letter was Atme's to begin with, because of the red diamond. Hello? I just don't, so that's what I thought. I thought I could prove that, but they want me to actually show evidence. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to find. No. I thought I'm so frustrated. No, I can't look at this anymore. And this was the first one anyway. He got the red diamond in a previous case. Like the last one. Not the urn, but whatever, like the portrait or whatever. Whatever one he actually managed to find. I wonder if I'm too far ahead. I think I'm actually jumping the gun. I think I know more than I'm supposed to. And I have to... So I have to roll it back using the evidence I have. And the only evidence I have right here is the blue diamond. So I think this has to be my contradiction first. I think I have to... I'm too far ahead of the case. And I have to... So I either have to be like... Why does it say red diamond when he stole a blue diamond? And then what I'm going to have to do is I'll have to be like, he wouldn't make a mistake like that. He knows all about the shit. And then we talk about the red diamond that he has. I'm way too far ahead. We have to... I did this in the previous game, or like the first game, I think, where I was jumping too far ahead. See, watch. I think it'll all work out. I think it'll be fine. Stop it. I want to present this. There we go. Take a good look at this newspaper clipping. It contains a picture of the tear of Amnon, the stolen jewel. What about it? The problem is that this jewel's color. Color? I'm not much for discussing color myself. According to the clipping, the color of the stolen jewel was blue. However, in the blackmail letter, a totally different jewel is mentioned. I'll take that red diamond you received the other day. Red? Which means the red diamond described in the blackmail letter is not the tear of Amnon that Master stole at all.
Objection!
And your point is, Mr. Trite? So are you trying to say that this blackmail letter was indeed for someone else? That is what you're trying to say, right, Trite? That is what you're trying to say, right, Mr. Wright? Well, that is what you're trying to say, right, Nick? Yes. Jesus. This is the one who Kane Bullard was actually blackmailing. Oh, okay. If we're just gonna skip right ahead. Profiles? Naturally. It was you, Detective Atme. Do you have some sort of basis for that claim? You have been personally involved in every single Master Mask case. And in the last case, you recovered what was stolen. And received a jewel as your reward. A jewel? A jewel? Probably the one conspicuously wrapped conspicuously around your finger. The red diamond ring. That is the diamond referred to in the letter. Which means that Kane Bullard wrote that letter in order to blackmail you. Order, order in the court. Order, I say. It seems you've gone too far with your childish pranks, Mr. Trite. Uh-oh, I don't like the way he said that. Kane Bullard blackmailing Luke Atme? Are you for real? Yes, I am. Nick, come on, stand up to him. Then answer me this. The blackmail letter contains the following passage. If you don't want your identity revealed to the world. Yes, it certainly does. Kane Bullard threatened to make Luke Atme's identity a public knowledge. An identity he wanted to keep a secret. So, just what was that identity? Man, sometimes people are just assholes. And that's their identity. It's not... Atme killed Kane Bullard because he was afraid of his secret becoming known. What was the identity he wanted to keep secret? This is what it all comes down to, Nick. The identity that Luke Atme wanted so desperately to keep his secret was... Oh, is he Master Mask? See, this is where I'm having a hard time following. I'm going to say Mask. No. What's his name is definitely Master Mask. Oh, that's right. I was thinking he's been blackmailing because Ron doesn't keep any of the stuff that he gets. So while Luke Atme has been he's been blackmailing. That's right. I understand. It's all I forgot that very important part. Luke Atme was a blackmailer.
Objection!
Hey now, isn't that a little different from what you've been saying? You said that Kane Bullard was the one blackmailing Luke Atme. Are you saying that Atme was blackmailing someone else on top of that? You have to admit that does sound a little odd. It's not odd. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Kane Bullard was blackmailing Luke Atme. But Ron DeLight was also being blackmailed by a certain someone. So did you start receiving the blackmails after this incident? Yes, just a few days after the Tear of Animan heist. After that, I started getting the plans in the mail. I received plans from some very kind person. Incredibly detailed plans. I forgot about that, yeah. Detailed plans. In which case, that would mean that Ron DeLight was actually Master Mask. That is what we are claiming. Someone else came up with the plans and had Mr. DeLight steal his targets for him. And that someone was none other than Luke Atme. Silence! Now I see. It's all becoming clear. What is it? When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Careless with the tendency to jump to conclusions. Am I wrong? How did you... You say that I, Luke Atme, was blackmailing Ron DeLight? In which case I would naturally know all about his relation to Master Mask. Well, yes. Ron DeLight started receiving plans from his second crime onward, correct? Which means I learned of his identity when he committed the first crime. Good point. You certainly couldn't have blackmailed him otherwise. In that case, let's see some hot, bitter evidence. During the first crime, how did Luke Atme know that Ron DeLight was Master Mask? Oh, this one's an easy one to prove. Bam. I think I see it. See what? When you were in grade school, you received the same report card every year. Gets into a lot of mischief, trying to be the center of attention. What do you mean? This newspaper clipping. It has a picture of you and Ron DeLight in his guard uniform. It seems that Master Mask didn't just disappear into thin air. He just took off his outfit and hid it in the bucket. That sounds far too stupid to be true. Correct. With tricks like that, he couldn't fool a baby, let alone an ace detective. And that's when you figured it out, Mr. Atme. That's when you learned that under his mask, Master Mask was really Ron DeLight. Wasn't he supposed to be Master Mask? Not only that, it looks like he wasn't even an ace detective. I can't believe it. He was just a slimy blackmailer. What a fraud, trying to pass himself off as an ace detective. He's also a murderer. I think we've lost that thread. Why, how dare you expose me like that? Why, I mean, I've never blackmailed anyone in my life. I'm a famous and proud ace detective, and also Master Mask. Why can't you understand done that? I'm afraid you are neither a proud thief nor an ace detective. You're a blackmailer and a murderer. That is your true identity. Why, you? How dare you even dare? Yep, there he goes. Lost. I simply can't read that fast, so I'm gonna let him go off. It would seem we finally arrived at the real answer. That was quite a performance by Mr. Hatme. Bailiff, please prepare a cell for Mr. Hatme.
Objection!
Oh god. Damn it, Godot. I really want this trial to be over. It's been so long. I love you, but we need to stop. The hammer that strikes too fast has no time to aim. What do you mean? I'm already prepared to deliver my ruling. Allow me to say one more thing. I will be the one to judge. You don't get much more in your face than that. It appears that your claws weren't quite sharp enough, Mr. Trite. What do you... It's true that you've proven a lot of things. Things like Luke Atme was a filthy blackmailer. And that he wasn't at Lordly Taylor the night of the murder. That's right. That's why he's the one who killed Mr. But... there's still one thing you have yet to prove. What's that? Just because he wasn't at the warehouse doesn't mean he was at the murder scene. Ugh. Therefore, if you can't prove this pitiful excuse for a man was at KB security, then I don't see how a verdict can be delivered. No way! Godot! I'm so tired! Or, do not make this case drag out even longer. Order in the court. Well, Mr. Wright, this is it. This is the final round. I've got to prove that Atme was at Buller's office that night. But can you really prove that? That's long enough, Mr. Trite. I want to hear your answer. I don't... I have to be able to prove it, right? The defense can prove it. With evidence. Fuck. Are you sure? Ha. Don't you worry, I'll watch over you. As you break down and fall to pieces. Very well then, let's see this proof. Proof that Luke Atme was at KB security that night. Oh, beans. I actually probably don't have proof. No, no, no. 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 No and no and no. I actually don't think I have any proof. I hate when they ask me that, and then they set me up like this. I don't care for it. Here, I'll just... I don't even have anything that I could possibly... Here, have the autopsy report. I am a little tired. If they ask me again, then I don't know. I don't know. This is the proof. It's true. That is very important. However, I'm not so foolish to think as it will pass for evidence here. Mr. Trite, it's time you learn the true flavor of life. The flavor of my special Godot blend, number 49. Well, Mr. Wright, it's bitter. Very bitter. Come on, Nick, don't give up now. What do I do? If I make a mistake here, it's over. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't prove it. Just as I thought. But, if we hear more of Detective Atmey's testimony...
Objection!
Unfortunately, that's as far as you go, Mr. Trite. What do you mean? I won't allow for any more testimony. That's what I mean. What? Have you forgotten Luke Atmey is here after all, after we interrupted his own trial? And you have failed to prove that he committed the murder. I think it's time for this witness to return to his own trial and face his guilty verdict as mask to mask. No. Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective as well as mask to mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Rhonda Lights will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness. Order in the court. That's enough deliberation over this court. I can't believe this. At this rate, Ron is... Don't give up now, Nick. We still have tomorrow. We can look for more evidence, and by then, it'll be too late. Huh? Why? Double jeopardy. One of the basic rules of any court of law. Double jeopardy? Should a defendant be tried and found innocent in court, that defendant cannot be tried again for the same crime. This is a fundamental rule of all courts. And it applies to this witness as much as it applies to anyone else. This is... What? That isn't double jeopardy? He's not being tried of this. He's just a witness. If we let him walk away... Even if we convicted... That's not how double jeopardy works. What they're saying, that is how double jeopardy works. That if someone is found innocent of a crime, they cannot be accused of that same crime. Luke Atmey is not on trial for the murder of this dude. He is simply testifying. He's not, when he leaves, he's just leaving. He's not actually being found innocent of anything. We could go back tomorrow and find the actual evidence against him. We are not currently in double jeopardy. Holy shit, I mean, that is so stupid. Mr. Atmey will be found guilty in a matter of minutes. Guilty as mask to mask, which means he will be innocent as far as the murder of Kane Bullard is concerned. No, it's not! That's not how this works! That's not how this works! I've put up a lot with a lot of this course bullshit and a lot of things slide. But this is, you can't just throw down the words double jeopardy and then they don't even apply to the situation at hand. No way! Yeah, no fucking way! That's not how this works! The fact that you were able to prove Mr. Atmey's guilt of that crime here means that he will never be I'm so upset that it means he will never be again tried as Kane Bullard's murderer. Why? That's me, Phoenix. That is not how this works. Now there's nothing I can possibly do to win. Even as Ron is proclaimed to be innocent, the real killer, Luke Atmey, will go free. If you have cross-examined every statement the witness has made here today, and as long as there is no more testimony, I'm afraid I have to declare that we will be here. Are there any other objections? Double fucking jeopardy my ass. Then I hereby end the cross-examination of Luke at me. I think I see it. Your Honor, when you were a child, this is what was on your report card every year. Has poor hearing and often makes mistakes as a result. How did you? Phoenix, raise your head up high. Have you forgotten what I used to tell you? A lawyer is someone who smiles, no matter how bad it gets. That voice. No way. Long time no see, Phoenix. Mia. This is the true power of the Korean channeling technique. I know that it's really Maya who stands before me, but right now she's my mentor, Mia Fey. Now, let's do this. But there's nothing more we can do, Maya. Mia, whatever. Without any more testimony, I can't cross-examine. Not yet. The testimony's not over yet. What do you mean? Your Honor, just now you said something very interesting. You have cross-examined every statement the witnesses made here today. Yes, that's true, but unfortunately, Your Honor, you're forgetting something. Earlier, after the last cross-examination, this witness made a number of remarks. Well now, Sir Lawyer, it seems that love wins out in the end after all. I am the ace detective, as well as Master Mask. My verdict will verify that. Just as Ron Delights will verify that he is the true murderer. I declare that with the full force of my ace detectiveness. Yes, but those comments appear to have no importance whatsoever. Very well, then we shall prove their importance via cross-examination. At any rate, as long as the witnesses made these remarks, we, the defense, assert our right to question them. Is that alright with you, prosecutor? Is something the matter, Mr. Godot? Nothing. Oh, Sir Lawyer, it looks like you're one step too late. If you think such falsehoods will do anything to me, Luke, let's hear it. It's true that the witness made some remarks. So then, let's hear this last bit of cross-examination. Mr. Godot, what are you? Very well then. Mr. Lugatme, I'm going to allow the defense to cross-examine your earlier remarks. The defense would like you to hear why you declared the defendant to be the true murderer. So please, give us one last bit of testimony. Aha. Phoenix, this is it. This is our absolute last chance. There's something going on, and I don't know what it is, but it was just very blatantly made clear that there is something between Mia and Godot. Because this has nothing to do with the current case, but I don't want to talk about this fucking current case right now. So Godot came up to us and he's like, I'm gonna have my revenge, and all that smooth jazz played. That's true, maybe. But he said that he wanted to have his revenge on us. And which doesn't make a lot of sense. But the very first case we had in this game, Phoenix hid the evidence, or he like destroyed the evidence, and he had that crazy girlfriend that poisoned somebody. Yeah, we don't know anything about Godot, but the very, very first case we had, Phoenix had that crazy girlfriend that murdered somebody in the court, and then she hid the poison and gave it to Phoenix, who then destroyed the poison bottle because he's an idiot. And I think that has something to do with Godot. Probably somebody related to Godot, because we have a lot of family things going on in this game. So I wonder if it was like Godot's brother or little sister, or he's related to whatever her name was, Dahlia. I don't know. There's something going on there, but there is some connection between Mia and Godot. They just made that point super clear. I'm sure that will be explained later. I'm gonna cross-examine this idiot, though. Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had this photograph readied. My brilliant deduction was what informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight. And thanks to the keycard and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. I was able to make a deduction from the buzzer, which only sounded once. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. Mr. Delight was wearing his mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. On the blackmail letter, the victim likely just mistook the color of the jewel. Zavari! Therefore, all the evidence points to that poor boy. The testimony actually seems to hold up pretty well. The witness's earlier remarks do not appear to have been hastily prepared. All of his points have been explained, and none of them seem to contradict anything. But of course. But how did you know about the emergency buzzer? The police investigation documents went directly through me, and I always look over all the documents. It's elementary, said lawyer. Ugh. Are you going to make even more trouble for us now, Mr. Lawyer? I will not allow any of your usual shenanigans, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. We cannot postpone Lugatme's trial any longer. This is your last chance. Hang on a second. Just one chance? Oh, shit. Ha! It seems that the party's about to begin. Well, Miss Phoenix, there isn't any evidence that contradicts with that testimony. So it would seem. What do you mean, so it would seem? Listen, Phoenix, pointing out contradictions doesn't always mean you have to present evidence, does it? At any rate, this is our last chance. If you can't point out a case-breaking contradiction, you lose. That's all there is to it. Cup number 17. The last cup. It seems like the time has come to put an end to this trial. I have to find a fatal contradiction in this testimony, and I need to point it out without presenting evidence. Which means all I can do is find the contradictory remark and press it. Remember, you only get one chance. Ah, fuck. Alright. Indeed, it is true that I was not at Lordly Taylor. I had to leave to see about another vitally important job request. I had known about the date beforehand, so I had the photograph ready. My brilliant deduction was informed me that the true culprit was Ron Delight, and thanks to the keycard and wallet, it was abundantly clear that he was there. This is true. I was also able to make a deduction from the buzzard, which only sounded once. He explained why he knew about the buzzard. The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? The victim would have left prints if he sounded it, which means the killer sounded it. And this is also true. Mr. Delight was wearing his mask outfit, which is why he left no prints. And the blackmail letter? The victim just mistook the color of the jewel. Zavari. So there's two. This one I really want to present, but the reason why I don't is because his notebook doesn't actually have the color of the jewel in it. If it did, I'd be more inclined to press it, because this is what I had originally thought. But now I'm hesitant to. This one's also shady because we only just learned that he was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit. This is not something that Luke Atme would know because he was currently in his other trial. That evidence just came to light. It's very tempting to pick this one though, but I don't think it's right because I need to prove it without evidence, I think. So even if the color of the jewel was in that evidence thing, because they said just press. So it has to be something I can prove by just pressing. And this is straight up information that we got earlier in the trial. Because everyone was like, what? You were wearing your mask-to-mask outfit? He's like, oh, I guess I should have said something. He wouldn't know this. It's genuine art information that he wouldn't know. Mr. Atme, about this last remark.
Objection.
Oh, fuck. You still don't get it, do you, Trite? This isn't the time to be pressing the witness on every little statement. I'm afraid you're the one who still doesn't get it, Mr. Godot. What? Mr. Atme, it seems you have finally admitted that you were in the CEO's office on the night of the murder. How could you say that? Let's review your testimony, shall we, Mr. Atme? The button did not have any fingerprints on it. Why? Mr. Delight was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit. Is that correct? Indeed, that's what I said. My deductions are absolutely foolproof. More like your deductions prove that you're a fool. I'm sorry. Whatever do you mean? For some reason, I'm starting to get really thirsty. God, yeah, that's what I'm like, Jesus. When exactly did we learn the fact that Ron Delight was dressed as mask to mask when he went to the scene of the crime? That was, it was just a few hours ago. Back when my sixth cup was looking at me with a cold stare. Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up till now. That's right. The defendant had yet to tell anyone else this fact before this morning. Therefore, the only people who should know this are those who have been watching this trial. Do you understand now, Detective Atme? There is no way that you should have known about that. You were in the next courtroom being tried as mask to mask. So then enlighten us. How did you know about that piece of information? Well... Come on, this detective must have known about it. He probably had plenty of chances to find out beforehand. And it's those chances that I want to discuss next. That night, Mr. Delight was wearing his mask-to-mask outfit. There is one, and only one way, for Detective Atme to have found that out. Only one way, you say? Please recall, if you will, Mr. Delight's testimony. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. For a second, my client witnessed the real killer. But Mr. Delight never saw his attacker, so there's no way to tell whether or not the real killer was Luke Atme. It's with that statement that I'll turn his case on its head. Just what are you implying? Mr. Delight saw the real killer, correct? Now if you turn the statement around, it stands to reason that the real killer had also seen Ron Delight. Impossible. Oh my god. Detective Atme, you saw Mask to Mask at the murder scene that night. You saw him when you killed Kane Bullard and assaulted Ron Delight. That was the only way you could have known what Ron was wearing. What is happening? Holy crap. Take a good look, everyone. Unable to find a rival worthy of my genius, I was forced to create one by myself. Here I am, the tragic clown. That's the same line you gave yesterday. But I think there's a little more meaning behind it this time. What an awfully complicated incident. For case 2. King Bullen was blackmailing Luke at me, who in turn was blackmailing Ron Delight. And upon killing his blackmailer, Luke at me tried to frame Ron Delight. Then he claimed to be guilty as Master Mask in order to escape the crime. And to that end, he came up with this plan. To use the double jeopardy rule when making his alibi. The double jeopardy rule doesn't apply in this case! At any rate, it would seem we finally found the truth. Excuse me. I came perilously close to besmirching the record of an innocent young man. Besmirching him with the title of murder. Don't ignore me! Oh, I didn't realize you were there. Why wouldn't he be? About the verdict. I know. You never committed any murder. That's right. I'm so glad you understand that, but I really am Master Mask. Oh? So thanks to that trial yesterday, I'm innocent now, right? What was it you said? Double jeopardy? Now that you mention it, I've been careless. Careless? What do you think, Mia? As the defendant says, the rule of double jeopardy is absolute! No, it isn't! That is not how this double jeopardy works. We didn't find him innocent of being Master Mask in general. He wasn't on trial for that. He was on trial for the case of the urn, which he did not actually steal. You know what he did steal? Everything else, which he is still capable of being tried for, because each of those robberies is an individual crime, of which you can be tried. Ooh. Ooh, I'm angry. A defendant can never be tried twice for a crime from which he was found innocent. That is correct. They are using double jeopardy correctly. When they're talking about double jeopardy, they are absolutely correct. The crimes in which they are applying double jeopardy to are incredibly incorrect. Then Master Mask is really innocent? It would seem so. For now. For now. I'm absolutely livid with this game. This is not how double jeopardy works. Boy, this is really lucky. Wait, this isn't so good after all. You see, the thing is, I still am Master Mask after all. You did it, Phoenix. Thanks, Mia. Yeah, it's because Maya doesn't call on me much these days. Oh, I'm just joking, Phoenix. Don't take everything so seriously. But on the other hand, Maya, she seems kind of torn these days. You mean about becoming the master of the Korean channeling school? Becoming the master means saying goodbye to our mother. Misty Faye, right? Watch over her, will you, Phoenix? Of course! Well then, see you around. Mia. Mr. Wright. I don't know what to say. Congratulations, Mr. Delight. Thank you so much. No wait. Nothing really matters anymore though, now that... Come on, just be happy already. Maya, you've been cleared of the murder charges and got off as Master Mask to boot. But in exchange, I lost everything. Huh? What do you mean? Stealing security information from KB Security, becoming Master Mask. I did it all for one reason. For her. You mean your wife, Desiree? She hates criminals more than anything. Come to think of it, she was once held hostage by some robbers, wasn't she? She always said she hated how sneaky criminals. I knew that, but once I got fired from KB Security and lost all the money I had, she wouldn't have had any reason to stay with me. I thought she would leave me for sure. So that's why you became Master Mask? Yes, but it's all over now. A broken bowl can never be put back together. That's not true, right, Nick? Right. Really? Can we go back to the way things were? You'll be fine, and Nick can prove it. I can? Kind of wish you would check with me first. Mr. Light, even if a bowl is broken, there's always a way to put it back together. The sacred urn. Tessie was the one who found this. Desiree, your wife, she's always believed in you, Ron. That's why you'll be fine. You don't have to worry about anything. Ah, there you are. Miss Delight. You did it, Ronnie. You're innocent. I'm so happy. Thank you. I appreciate that, but, I suppose you don't want anything more to do with me, do you? Ronnie, why don't you talk to me about what was going on? I had no idea you'd quit KB Security. I'd never imagined that you were really Master Mask either. Miss Delight, what are you going to do now that you know? You're not going to really leave him, are you? Come on, it's obvious, isn't it? How could I ever let a wonderful man like him get away? After all, my bike's really fast. So fast that there's no way he could ever get away. But didn't you say that you hated criminals? Oh, I only hate people who act all cowardly and sneaky, like that detective. I see. My Ronnie went and declared his crimes before he committed them, like a man. I just love a man who's so chivalrous. Chivalrous? I knew I was right about you. Every day I spend with you is filled with thrills and excitement. Desi. Desiree, you really do love Ron, don't you? Nicky boy? Yes. I'm really glad I asked you to defend my Ronnie. Thank you so much! I'll never forget what you've done for us. Oh, well, take care of yourself. You too, Nicky boy. I can feel my face going red. Mr. Nick! Miss Nicknemaya! Congratulations! Talk about bad timing. Mr. Nick, how could you? With another man's wife, in front of Mystic Maya! I'll never forgive you! So, just as the case came to a close, so too did my consciousness. Ron said, a broken bowl can never be put back together, but I know that's not true. I mean, just look. Here's a perfect example of one that was put back together even better than before. She's very strong. She is super, like, buff. Oh dear. We're really falling on hard times. We've put Maya in a maid outfit. Fucking hell. I will start this, but I probably won't finish it. But we'll start it, just to see what's going on. Or, let's start the investigation, I mean. That's enough. This court sees no reason to further prolong this trial. The case is extremely clear. I see no room for mistake. It wasn't me! I swear it wasn't me! The evidence and testimony we have seen and heard are conclusive. The victim was alone at his table when he drank that poisoned cup of coffee. No, you're wrong. I know what I saw. I saw... I saw someone else there. A man. He's the real killer. Why won't anyone believe me? Well, I'd say that pretty much wraps this case up, wouldn't you? Mr. Wright? This court finds the defendant. Oh, sweet, we lost already. This court is adjourned. The start of the new year always makes me feel like I can take on the whole world. Thanks. I bet it does, Maya. So, I've decided that our resolution should be Safari! Take on the world! What do you think? Sure, whatever, Maya, but I think maybe you've had more than enough mistletoe cake. Never! You've got to eat a lot of cake during New Year's. It's practically a tradition. Like watching the fireworks on TV or playing a board game. Hey, pal! Detective Gumshoe? Happy New Year, Detective! Likewise. Now listen up, Wright. Here's to another fruitful year of law-police cooperation. Yeah, me too. Alright, pal. You've got some explaining to. Have you got a holiday present for me, Detective? What? Well, here, have this. It's nothing much, but... Yay, thanks! Look, pal, we need to have a talk. Have a seat. Hey, what about Pearly? You haven't forgotten her present, have you? No. I mean, yes. I mean, no. Are you doing this on purpose? Guess I'm busted. How did you like my first practical joke of the year? Very funny, pal. Now let's see how funny you think it is when I show you this. What is it? A magazine? Hey, I want to see. Deadly poisoning brings guilty verdict. Defense attorney Wright trounced. Trounced? Let me see that. The defense attorney gave an almost childishly amateur performance yesterday. What the heck is this? It's a report, pal, about you! Listen to this. Mr. Wright must take full responsibility for the ruling in this case. Well, don't tell me you don't remember anything about it. But I don't remember anything about it. When was that issue from anyway? December of last year, which I guess makes it last month. Which makes it old news, you mean? But I wasn't involved in a poisoning case in December. So what do you think this is all about, Nick? If it wasn't you, pal, then that leaves only one possibility. No way! You don't mean... A phony Nick! This must be Gumshoe's idea of a joke. Guess he's starting off the year with one too. So what are you gonna do about it, pal? What do you mean, what am I going to do about it? Well, it's your fault that the judge found the defendant guilty in this case. My fault? How do you figure that? Because the Phoenix Wright is super famous now. Well, maybe only sort of. I am legitimately not looking forward to it. Yeah, see what happens when you hotshots start getting too full of yourselves? But I didn't do anything wrong. At least not that I can remember. You better make this right, pal, now. And that means taking the case back to court. Got it? Sounds like we've got our first case of the new year. Let's tackle it with gusto. I don't know. The judge already issued a guilty verdict in this case. It's not going to be easy to get it overturned. I guess that New Year's resolution is going to have to wait until next year. So you're taking the case, right? Good. I'm gonna head over to the courthouse then. After that, I'll go back to the precinct. Drop by if you need something, okay, pal? I guess people are starting to know the name Phoenix Wright. If a client entrusted a case to me based on my reputation, I guess I am kind of responsible. But why would someone want to impersonate me? What sort of guy would do that? So what's our first move? I guess we go down to the detention center and talk. Wait a sec, Nick. This person behind bars because of you. Whoever it is isn't going to be jumping at the chance to meet you, right? Hey, let's get this one thing straight. It wasn't me. It was a fake that did this. I wonder if he looks exactly like you. Your phony Xinhuap, I mean. I hope not. Ugh. And what kind of name for an evil double is Xinhuap anyway? Oh, it's Phoenix Wright. It's Phoenix backwards. Alright, got it. Nick, I've got it. If you're going to ask whether I've got a twin brother, the answer is no. Spoil sport. Did you notice Gumshoe was acting weirder than usual, or was it just me? What do you mean? I mean, he was really worked up. Like a guy who's just found out he's going to be a dad or something. Yeah, I guess he was acting kind of strange. Maybe he realized he's got strong feelings for you, Nick. Considering how we interact, I seriously doubt that, Maya. Well, if he wasn't nervous because of you, then maybe it's because of our new guilty client? This is so nerve-wracking, waiting to meet our new client. I wonder just what kind of person you tricked and got found guilty. Keep it down, Maya. That kind of talk could ruin me. Ah! How could you, Mr. Wright? How could you do this to me? They put me in solitary. I haven't been able to stop crying. Aren't you? Yes, I am! I'm totally and utterly let down. Are you? Don't pretend you don't know me. It's me, Maggie. Remember? Maggie Bird? Maggie Bird. Maggie Bird. She's the policewoman I defended that one time. She was accused of murdering her lover, and he was a cop too. What are you doing in here? Didn't I get you acquit? Oh, sure. Very funny. After that fifth-rate defense job, you come in here and start making jokes? You better hurry up and tell her what happened, Nick. Oh, I see. So that's where we stand right now. I'm sorry you've been caught up in another murder. My whole life has been nothing but a whirlwind of bad luck and failures. I vaguely remember her saying the exact thing last time. But I don't mind. What's one more disaster in my life? At least now, the real Mr. Wright is here with me. I won't let the world keep me down, sir. So how come you're dressed like that, Maggie? Last year you looked so sharp in that police uniform. Huh, I was fired after that incident last year. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. I don't mind one bit. I enjoyed being on the force, but I think it was time for me to move on. So what do you do now? In the second act of The Life of Maggie Bird, I'm playing the role of a waitress. A waitress? Yes, in a French restaurant. It's a small place, but it's quite fashionable. My charming smile and shapely figure came through for me. And now the owner, Mr. Armstrong, hired me straight away, sir. And then you got into this mess straight away, right? Yeah, you could put it that way. The whole mess started on the 3rd of last month. And it happened at Trespien. Trespien? Yes, it's a restaurant where good service and a friendly smile are always included. Oh. There were 2 men at the table both drinking coffee. And then... one of the men slipped some poison into the victim's cup. The victim took one sip and was gasping for air. I was so shocked I passed out. Hey, hold on there, Maggie. What? You keep calling the guy the victim. Didn't you know the guy who was killed? Not at all. I've never seen the guy before. Oh. So she wouldn't have had a motive to kill him then, I guess. And then the other man, you saw him, right? Of course! A good waitress must be attentive to the clientele! So you saw the killer, but you were found guilty of the crime anyway. How come? You tell me, Mr. Wright! Ugh, guess the answer to my question is my phony. Anyway, she saw the killer. Better see if I can get the description of the guy. So, if you saw the murderer, why were you still convicted? Because no one else saw. Saw what? The other man. The one who put the poison in the victim's coffee. Everyone testified that way. Mr. Armstrong, the customer, everyone. The victim was sitting alone at his table the whole time. But how's that possible? I don't know, but nobody, not one person would believe me, sir. Even Phoenix Wright, my one last hope for a fair trial, failed me. What a pathetic defense! My granny could have done a better job. Look, that wasn't me, okay? And then they found something a bit incriminating in my apron pocket. What? A small bottle of poison. What? Poison? It was in your pocket? Well, I passed out when the victim collapsed. The killer must have slipped the poison into my pocket when I was unconscious. And no one else saw this other guy? No, sir. That's what everyone said, but I don't see how they could have missed him. I was the one who took the coffee to the two men. Oh? And what was your impression of them? Well, when I first saw them, I kind of thought they might be in the music industry. In music? How come? Well, one of them had something like some sort of earpiece and an emo musician's look about him. And there was a sample CD on the table, sir. An earpiece and a sample CD, huh? Did you get a look at the CD at all? It had a band's name written on it. I think it was MC something. They must have been preparing for their debut, I guess. So it was a band CD. Maybe a promo music disc? Maybe it was MC Screwdriver. Get serious, Maya. Would you buy the CD of a group named that? What was the name of that group again? MC Hacksaw? No, MC... And what about the killer? What did he look like? Well, I don't really remember. Only that he was a young man, well built like the victim, really. Okay. Ugh. Are we done? Okay. I'm gonna go to the detention center. Oh no, I am at the detention center. I need to go to the criminals affairs department, and then I will call it there, because I'm starting to lose my voice. Oh, it's the last day of Phoenix Wright too. Excellent. Plenty of time for my little voice to recover. It's been ages since we came down to the precinct, huh, Nick? A girl. Looks like Gumshoe isn't around. He's got it so easy, leaving everyone else to do the work. No, he's out there somewhere. My bet is on the courthouse. He's probably trying to arrange the retrial of this case. Guess that means we should go to the detention center and chat with our killer, huh? After being convicted without a fair trial, I'm not sure the killer is in the right label. Oh. Well then what the heck am I supposed to do? Hold on. I need to examine these two. Hey, that's the police mascot, isn't it? It's so cute! That's the blue badger. It was my idea. I made it. And now it's the national symbol of the police force. So what's with the pink one? It's new, right? She's not an it, Nick. She's a she, right, Chief? Yep. Meet the pink badger. So one's called blue and the other's called pink. But they're both called badger. You got it. They're married. Mr. and Mrs. Badger seem to be cuffed together, Chief. You got it. That's marriage for you. Whoa. A mascot that's deeper than the deepest of deep oceans. Well. Good gracious. I guess I gotta show you something, huh? Oh yeah, I need to ask you about this. Hey! This article's about my case! Can you tell me anything about the guy who was pretending to be me? Yes, sir. It was the morning after I'd been arrested. I met you in the visitor's room here. You were wearing one of your super sharp suits. Me? Yes, you, Mr. Wright. Hey, Maggie. Was my evil double AM here, too? No, I don't remember a phone of you, Maya. Oh, it would have been so cool. Then you got really worked up and passionate. I'm gonna get you cleared of this crime, you said. Okay, I get the picture, but you met me in person before. So how come you didn't realize that guy wasn't the real me? I guess looking back now, it was a little strange. Only a little. Well, okay, so you were a bit taller than normal, and you looked a bit shady. And your voice was a bit weird. Oh, and you had this kind of funny accent, and so the guy was nothing like me then. But he had your spiky hair and blue suit. Is that all it takes for someone to imitate me? How about everyone else in the courtroom, like the judge and the observers? Didn't they realize he was an imposter? Everyone had these big question marks on their faces, but it seemed that no one wanted to say anything, sir. This case just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Mr. Wright, do you think it's possible to get a retrial? Probably. The court ruled in the absence of a genuine defense attorney, so we should be able to get a retrial. Mr. Wright, do you think we'll win next time? Sir, my life has been a full-course meal of bad luck, complete with the defeat for dessert, since I was 6 months old, when I fell from the 9th floor of my apartment building. I've been hit by all sorts of vehicles, gotten sick from all sorts of foods, failed at almost every test I've taken, experienced almost every kind of disaster. I've landed a phony lawyer when I had the misfortune of being accused of murder, but I will survive because Maggie Bird always lives to fight another day. And one day, I'll find it. Just you wait and see, sir. I'll find that one single moment of good luck. Yup is really gonna pay for this. What are you staring at me like that for? But Maya's right. Whoever it is that thought it was a good idea to use my name and get an innocent girl convicted of murder had better watch out. We'll find him. Don't you worry. We'll get Zin up for you. Thank you. I'll tell you where Trespien is then. Tres? Right. The restaurant where the murder took place. Yes, sir. When you go, please tell Mr. Armstrong I said hi. Sure. All right. Nick, let's check out this restaurant and its food. All right. This has been too much. And I'm gonna have to call it here. And we'll do the rest of the investigating and probably the trial on Tuesday when I'm back with more Phoenix Wright. My voice was really starting to go, and I don't blame it. It's been a lot. Oh, that Double Jeopardy stuff really, really, really irritated. Oh, thank you. So I will be back in an hour and a half for more Near Replicant. But I will be back with more Phoenix Wright on Tuesday. Tomorrow will be more, tomorrow starting at 2. Oh, thank you. Too little, too late, Q. But I will take that sippy all the same. Tomorrow I will be back with more, I completely lost my train of thought. Tomorrow is Friday, which means it will be at 2 p.m. more Stardew Valley, and then Saturday and Sundays at 5 p.m. is Final Fantasy XIV, where we will be moving into the Heavensward patches. But I will be doing side quest stuff first, so we won't be seeing any MSQ on Saturday for sure. I am off on Mondays, and then more Phoenix Wright on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 2 p.m. EST. But for right now, we have Near at 6 p.m. In an hour and a half. And I hope to see you there. Let me make sure I save, because if I have to do any of that over again, I will lose my mind. But thank you so much for being here. I hope you all have a very lovely afternoon, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye!